why I spit Patron on this microphone. Watch out, I'm in the zone, worth for everything I own. Life is March Madness, one mistake, then you go. Yeah, I had a stroke, but your boy still rhyming. And Fresh got locked, but the squad still wildin'. Catch me in any city in the hood, we grinding.
The next topic we're going to discuss are comments made by Canelo Alvarez. Here's an article from Boxing News 24. Canelo says Spence fight can happen if he moves up. Plant is a future opponent. They plan for Plant to be a future opponent. So here it is right here. Canelo interested in Spence fight. Well, obviously it's an exciting fight, said Canelo to Fight Hub when asked if he'd be interested in fighting Errol Spence. Errol Spence is a great fighter, and if he wants to go up in weight, then that would be a great fight. Yeah, middleweight is something we could still do. Yes, we could still go down, said Canelo. It makes sense for Canelo to go down in weight to 160 because he won't receive credit from the boxing public if Spence goes up 3 divisions to face him at 168. Spence can gain a lot from fighting Canelo as it would take his career to the next level. So that's the article from Boxing News 24. Trill Dollar Bill. What are your thoughts on Canelo saying that him versus Spence is a possibility if Spence moves up and he can make 160? He can do it at 160.
You know, it's in the future. It's in the future. Anything's possible in the future. I think Canelo needs to worry about Callum Smith right now. Not be worried about Errol Spence or worrying about Caleb Plant. Excuse me. I think he just needs to be worrying about Callum Smith right now. And with Earl, I don't see Earl jumping up to a 160 neither. I think his stablemate is at 154. He's talking about moving up to 154, and soon one of the Charlos will be moving up to 168, and the other brother moving up to 160. So I don't see it happening in the near future. But hey, it would be an exciting fight. You know, it would do numbers if you got Errol Spence and Canelo Alvarez and do it in Texas. Oh man, it would be crazy.
All right, G.
I actually like the fight, and at 160, it makes sense. You know, I agree that Spence can't go up any further because then it's gonna be like, oh, come on, you're gonna abuse this poor man. From 147, you're gonna just have him fluffed up just to get beat up. So I like the fact that at 160 they can make it happen. But I do agree with Trill. You should be focusing on Mr. Smith right now. However, if you could pull this off, why not? I think that's a great fight. It'll definitely be a great look for Spence right now. Even if Spence loses, it's still a good look for his career. So definitely, if they can make it happen, I say go for it.
Ned, I know this is a tough fight for you, man, because I know you like both fighters.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on Canelo?
You remember when we asked, I told us, like, this is the best fight ever. Like, minds would melt if it was to ever happen on television. That's how I still feel. But I could see Spence going up to 160 just to fight Canelo. That's it. Just if they was able to get a fight and all they had to do was meet at 160, I don't see Earl's saying he want to do that. And with all the opportunity he has nothing to gain by fighting Canelo, nothing to lose by fighting Canelo. So if
but hey, who needs brain cells, man?
Wow, you think he's gonna get? Gee, cut it out, man, because it's not gonna go that way.
All right, you know what?
All right,
it happens, so we can have our prediction.
Just because your fighter got plugged.
Ned, tell him how it's gonna go. Ned, tell him how it's gonna go.
Fuck that spice talk, Ned. How's it gonna happen?
How's the fight gonna happen?
Yeah,
man. Yo, they're gonna stop boxing. It's just gonna be a power outage, yo. It's gonna be too much for the world to handle. That's all I'm gonna say. It's gonna be a to be continued. Like, everybody's gonna be like, it's gonna be like the Rocky and Apollo fighting, and then it freezes. You don't even know who won.
750K pay-per-view buys.
Nah, record breaking. They're gonna break the. I can't even get it out. But listen, if the fight happens, the fight can happen. And if this is future talks of this fight happening, let's make it happen, because it's only good for boxing, baby. And that's that.
I I agree with Ned on one thing. The fight can happen. When you look at Earl Spence versus Danny Garcia, I don't know if they weighed Earl Spence the day of the fight, but he definitely like he was 260 to me. So he could
160.
Oh yeah, my bad. Yeah, 160. He definitely like he can make 160. So like I do feel like it's a possibility, and you're talking about the big fish, like you're talking about the biggest pay-per-view well, one of the biggest attractions in boxing. Joshua starting to rival Canelo, but you're talking about 1 and 2. And if he wants to take a risk, if you're saying, oh, well, fight Crawford, and the speculation from some people is that Earl Spence is afraid of Terrence Crawford, or he's ducking Terrence Crawford. If you're afraid of Terrence Crawford because you're going to take an L, why not move up to 160 and fight Canelo Alvarez? And if you take an L, you'll at least make more money, get more respect, because everyone's going to say you moved up in weight and you fought someone who's more accomplished in the sport of boxing and everything. So this is what happens when you have this thing called options. And when you have options give you leverage in negotiations, because when you have leverage in negotiations, you can say, well, okay, well, if you don't accept this offer, I'll just move to 160 and fight Canelo Alvarez. Now, if you say to Canelo Alvarez, would you want to fight Terrence Crawford? I don't know if he's going to be interested in that fight, just because Terrence Crawford doesn't have a good pay-per-view history. His last fight was on ESPN, and his own trainer's running around saying that he's losing money on him. So this becomes one of those fights where I could see it happening, because from Canelo's standpoint, Canelo is his own boss now. So he's just looking, he can pick and choose which lane he wants to swerve in, which fight he wants to make, and he's going to make the fights that make him the most money. And, I would have to think Canelo's very confident he can beat Earl Spence. I have to believe Earl Spence would be the underdog in that fight, and Earl Spence would be a live dog, but an underdog nonetheless. And it's one I think the public would be interested in. So is it possible it can happen? Yes. The more competitive fight to me, though, and the fight that I would rather see would be Earl Spence and Crawford first, but don't get it twisted. I'll take Canelo Spence as well.
Please like and subscribe. Let us know how you feel in the comment section, and check us out on Instagram and Twitter. And please check out our podcast on all major streaming services. We are the Boxing Bros.
We could have been flawless, flying up to make people's mouths drop jawless. How can 2 years be erased in 1 August? And I have my pride, so I had to get brolic. All in all, I can't call it. Just know you're my queen. Wish I was denim, cause then I be in your jeans. Can't fight fate, and you've been loving me since your teens. But when you can't move forward, you gotta wipe your slate clean.